Good afternoon. I'm Sandy Biber from the Mass Rehab Commission, and I am very pleased to be with all of you this afternoon. We have been working on the training that we're starting today for a very long time. In fact, since spring of 2020. If you can all take a minute and remember back that far, COVID was brand new and we all felt a little bruised. We had all packed up and left our offices and gone home and were trying to figure out what this mysterious thing called Zoom was. And then on May 25th, in the middle of all of that anxiety, George Floyd was murdered. In the wake of that, there were many, many conversations that happened across the nation, and they happened within EHS too. EHS agencies started talking with staff about racism, I think in a way that had not ever happened. Within MRC, we started talking as well, and conversations brought up some issues that the case managers at MRC had held on to for a long time. Their anger and frustration about experiences that provider agency staff particularly had experienced from waiver participants. And as time went on, we learned that this was also true for the case managers who were of color. As everything waiver, we brought this to DDS and to Mass Health and sat down and talked about providing a training for all of us to be able to learn how to talk to our participants about the fact that, yes, they are entitled to services and the people caring for them are entitled to a work atmosphere that is respectful and reasonable. So here we are, almost 2 years later. Today is a very small step in making the world a little bit better. We all want to and expect to be treated with dignity and humanity, regardless of the color of our skin, or the place we were born, or the accent of our speech. We're all still people and deserve to be treated equally and respectfully. As always, as a waiver team, we are balancing different imperatives. On the one hand, participants are entitled to services, and we cannot end their services because of how they behave. On the other hand, those who take care of our participants are entitled to respect and to be treated as the very worthy and kind people that they are, regardless of any other factors. Those are two difficult things to balance, but what I know from having worked with all of you is that there isn't a team in the world who could do a better job of balancing those imperatives. I'm going to turn this over to Lainey Bruner-Knut from DDS. Thank you.
I'm going to be talking about the document, Principles of Engaging in HCBS Waiver Services. This document has been in development, as Sandy said, for almost 2 years. We have worked very hard with a number of different groups, including DDS, MRC, Mass Health, diversity officers, legal departments, as well as the ABI, MFP, TBI stakeholder group to really make sure that this document captures everything we need it to capture. It started off as it started off about race. We have expanded it a little bit, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. The document you see here has not been totally finalized yet. It has been printed and published, and many of you may have seen it in your offices. We are waiting for final approval, and as soon as we get it, we're going to be telling you exactly how to implement it. This way, we're doing the training right now so that we can hit the ground running when it's time to hit the ground. So this is what the document looks like. It's a 2-page document. What I'm going to be talking about today is the actual document. The goal is to make sure that you, as a case manager or supervisor, are familiar with the document so that you'll be able to help people on your caseload review and understand the document. I will actually be reading major sections of the document and going into a little bit further background. I know that it's not adult learning principles to read off of slides, but I think it's really important because words are important here. And I just want to make sure everyone knows that everything in italics in this PowerPoint is from the document. We've organized the principles document into 3 main sections: the purpose, guiding principles, and the rights and responsibilities. The purpose of this document is to provide a set of principles and values that individuals receiving and providing waiver services will work to uphold and support. A main value here is that respecting others of all races, religions, cultures, identities, and skin cultures is important. That's sort of the baseline. That's where we started. The next value, including people of all abilities is important, really came out of the stakeholder group, and we wanted to make sure that people with brain injuries, people with disabilities, people of all abilities understood that their differences were valued and important. Differences are valued. This is extremely important because as we all have taken diversity classes, diversity trainings, we all recognize that differences and diversity helps all of us be better and helps us come to better decisions and better outcomes. Employees at the Executive Office of Health and Human Services and the agencies it works with are not allowed to discriminate based on race, sex, gender, ability, or place of origin, among other characteristics. And you'll note that at the bottom of this document, it has our non-discriminatory language. And we felt it was really important to make sure that people understood that this is not allowed, that discrimination is not allowed. The guiding principles really highlight exactly where this document came from. It's really important, as Sandy said, the balance of people receiving waiver services and people providing waiver services. It really is a relationship and a two-way street. So the following guiding principles apply to everyone receiving waiver services and everyone providing waiver services in the ABI MFP programs. The first guiding principle is never okay to belittle or demean a person receiving Mass Health Waiver Program services for any reason, including because of race, ability, cultural identity, or financial status. That's the bottom line here. And then it is never okay to belittle or demean a person providing Mass Health Waiver Program services for any reason, including because of race, ability, culture, identity, or financial status. Again, remember the balance, remember the two-way street. And finally, it is never okay to use words that are hateful, racist, sexist, or in any way oppress or insult another person. This is what I sometimes flippantly say is we need to be nice to each other. And this document is about that. Then we talk a little bit about the expectations for participants related to services and diversity. And this is where you as a case manager or service coordinator may come in. Your waiver case manager or service coordinator will help you choose which services you need. These services will be provided by people who are well trained and have the skills to support you. They may or may not be of your same gender, race, or culture. And people receiving waiver services and people providing waiver services come from many different cultures and backgrounds. This really is key. We want people to understand the expectations, what they can expect coming into the ABI MFP waiver program. Then the largest section of the document that takes up almost the entire second page talks about the rights and responsibilities for waiver participants and staff. When you agree to receive waiver services, it means you understand the rights and responsibilities of people receiving waiver services and people delivering waiver services. Then we make a note that says, please read these and talk about these with your waiver case manager or service coordinator. I am in charge of telling people who support me about my needs. If people who support me don't know what I need, then they may not be able to provide the support I need. This really makes sure that individuals understand that they need to talk to you, to their service providers, about what they need. I have the right not to be discriminated against because of my race, gender, ability, identity, or place of origin. I expect the staff who support me to treat me with respect. If I believe that someone did not treat me well, I should let someone else in the program know. And that someone else could be you as the case manager or service coordinator, or it could be someone at their service provider. And this next one is where the two-way street of relationships comes in. Just as I deserve to be treated with respect, I will treat the staff who are supporting me with respect. And then because respect is such a, I won't say vague concept, but it's a lot to take in. We then talk about this means what staff say to me and what I say to staff is respectful. No one should use mean, hurtful, or racist language. That means how staff treat me and how I treat staff should be respectful and should not be mean, hurtful, or racist. Again, we're talking about language as well as behavior so that they really kind of have some concrete ideas about what all of this document is talking about. And then we note, it is illegal for the agencies who provide me services to not hire someone because of their race, sex, gender, ability, or place of origin. The agencies are expected to hire skilled and diverse staff. Receiving Mass Health waiver services is my choice. The Mass Health waiver program will match me with skilled and diverse staff who are able to provide my services. I agree to work with and not discriminate against diverse staff who are able to provide my services. I may express a choice for staff to care for me, but I must accept and work with competent and diverse staff who support me through my waiver services. Again, hearkening back to Sandy talking about balance. Here we're walking a fine line. We want people to get the services that they need, have the services delivered by skilled and diverse staff, but also realize that receiving Mass Health waiver services is a choice for that person. So this next bullet really kind of brings that home. I will decide what help I do and don't want. I can refuse to accept services or supports from specific staff in the agencies that provide services in my area. If I do refuse services or staff, I may not be able to receive the help that I need to keep me safe and healthy in the community. Again, a lot of this is about balance. As Sandy said, we're not going to refuse to provide services because of behavior, but we really do want to drive it home that staff and individuals should expect and should be given respect. Finally, we end with a bullet about the Disabled Persons Protection Commission. I should always report any abuse, neglect, or mistreatment. I can contact the Disabled Persons Protection Commission at any time to report my concerns. And then in closing, it says, I will work with my case manager, staff, service coordinator, and staff to build relationships that are based on mutual respect and acceptance. And that's really key here. We are talking about mutual respect and mutual acceptance. Now I'm going to turn it over to Rosa Rodriguez and Tim Cahill, who will talk a little bit more about the implementation of this document.
As we review this document with our participants, it's extremely important that we all remember the idea is not to deny our participants of services because they partake in unacceptable and honestly very hurtful behavior. But rather the idea is that we provide a framework to proactively discuss the issues and possibly, just possibly, come up with ways to address these behaviors before they become an issue. We must bear in mind that the waiver services are considered an entitlement service. In this case, what that means is that our waiver participants have gone through an eligibility criteria and therefore are entitled to these services while they meet that eligibility criteria, just as they would with Social Security benefits or veterans compensation. As such, this is not a service that we can deny them because of their behavior. This by no means negates the fact that when they mistreat us, this is hurtful. And that although we've all signed up to assist them in getting services and transitioning them into the community, none of us have signed on to be mistreated in any form. Therefore, we're looking to provide a proactive discussion that highlights that this relationship, as Lainey said, is a mutual, respectful relationship, a professional relationship based on mutual respect. And that is what we need to remember at the end of the day. I leave you with that, and I leave you with Tim Cahill, the Assistant Commissioner of Operations for DDS.
So I just want to talk a little bit about what we plan to do as far as how to actually roll this important document out. So reviewing the document that Lainey just went through with our waiver participants. So the plan is that for those of our pending eligible individuals for all 4 of the waivers that are in the nursing facilities, the plan is to have the service coordinator or case manager review the principal's document as part of the first transition planning meeting, which is usually about 60 days prior to discharge. The plan is that the individual service coordinator or case manager will review in conjunction with the ABI MFP participant handbook. The plan is that the principal's document should be saved in the participant's file and a note entered in either Meditech or HCBS that it was reviewed. So for those of the waiver participants who are in the community, the service coordinators for DDS plan to review the document as part of the annual ISP meeting. The MRC case managers will review it also as part of the annual ISP meeting. And then they will do it as part of the quarterly check-in meeting going forward. And again, the service coordinator or case manager will save a copy of the document in the individual's file and enter a note in Meditech or HCBS that the document was reviewed. So it's important to keep in mind, as the service coordinators and case managers, you all will be really doing the important work of reviewing this with the waiver participants. It's important to keep in mind that this document is really here to support you and to give you a tool to really have these important conversations. Your supervisors and managers are also here to support you, as are our ABI MFP clinical support staff and our risk management staff as you go through the process of rolling out this process. Another thing that's really important to keep in mind is that we want you to, as we start this process, again, Lainey mentioned that that this is not officially approved to move forward yet, but we do hope and anticipate this will be approved in the near future. And so the training today and over the next couple of trainings is really to get ready to move ahead with this. And it will be important that you share feedback, questions, challenges, and concerns that you have with all of us as you start to roll this out. This will be a learning process, and we want to make sure that you feel totally supported. Lastly, but most importantly, I just want to take a minute and thank you, the case managers at MRC and the service coordinators at DDS and all the ABI MFP waiver staff for all the amazing work that you do every day. The work that you do is so important, it's so challenging, and yet you make a positive impact on so many waiver participants over the course of each and every day. And you should remember that and feel really good about everything that you do. So I want to thank you for that, and I also want to thank you for your participation in this very important process.